Going back to February 1st, a biracial black and Asian student, Kiara Nguyen, who is black and Vietnamese. So she had, with the student at the University of Southern California, she would received hate from people when she said said the Lunar New Year was the right thing, and Chinese New Year is only only for China, and Lunar New Year that's for China, South Korea, and a whole bunch of other countries Asian countries that celebrate it. So she had mentioned it on the school's Instagram account, and so she had said Lunar New Year was an inclusive term. You wouldn't say Happy Chinese New Year to your non-Chinese Asian friend. She wanted to be clear that if you were speaking to someone who is Chinese, calling it Chinese New Year would be correct, but because they're Chinese, but Lunar New Year, that's being inclusive to other people. So some people had asked, they're um, when she mentioned the informal Cantonese name for the red envelopes given to during Lunar New Year, if that was a Vietnamese term. So Kiara Nguyen, so she's majoring in psychology and working in NGO, then social change. So she had received an email who is apparently they made her a hot target and the whole Chinese group and the whole world. So she had said this would have not have been the issue if she was not half black. And mentioned that it's always black people playing the victim whenever talk about injustice. And she was tired of this kind of stuff, and also that she has also explained that she was also Asian because one of her parents is Asian. And she's tired of that, and of course, since February 1st was also during the month, the Black History Month, and also that day was Lunar New Year, and of course, Lunar New Year is a more of an inclusive term, and of course, Chinese New Year is only exclusive to China. And then some people, some students have said, oh, you're trying to erase the Chinese the origins, and so also she is working toward supporting Asian American Pacific Islander community. So some student, Gabby Giat, who was also another student, so apparently she was offended by it. And apparently there was a change or petition to call it the University of that mixed University of South Carolina, California to for the Chinese New Year crossed out and replaced with Lunar New Year, calling it disrespectful. And that Kiara Nguyen was in the wrong, and yet although she would Kiara did apologize for like, oh, because I apologized, I'm sorry if I insulted anybody, but people though she apologized, they continued to hate on her, and and because she is black, some half black people called her the N word, which is also the C word was dropped, and they continue to be racist toward there, and they were making an assumption that, oh, you're being talking about Asian stuff and you're not even Asian. But the university had to fire back against these people and saying harassing a student is not acceptable, and that is disrespectful, and although she may apologize if it offended anybody, but some people just and the university had to apologize for any hate that was fired towards Kiara Nguyen. And also they have to also mention that not just Chinese people celebrate that New Year. It's also the Koreans and Vietnamese people and a whole bunch of other Asians are celebrated, and not just Chinese. And of course, just because she is mixed race, because one of her parents is black, one of her parents is Asian, well, specifically Asian as in Vietnamese. And although she may be like one of her parents is black, she thinks she's more black than Asian, and they think she has no right to speak about this kind of stuff. And just because you are like more like you are like both races of a race, you have a right to speak about any race that you are practically a part of. And those students and people who fired at her should be the ones apologizing. And Chinese New Year, yeah, that's only exclusively for China, and if you would have said Happy Chinese New Year to a person like who is Korean, Vietnamese, or any other Asian people who celebrate Lunar New Year, yeah, you're being very disrespectful. And Lunar New Year, that's inclusive. And Chinese New Year, that's exclusive, and that is more like Westerners tend to say that instead, and they don't really tend to recognize Lunar New Year, which they should be respecting, and to not to offend any other Asian living in Canada or USA, you should be saying Lunar New Year instead. And if people who are like maybe they are white and part Asian, like biracial, or they have heritage, maybe they're not like a descendant of people who are Asian, or yeah, no, that's the right thing to say. Lunar New Year. And especially if the people who are said to Kiara that N word and the C word and some other racial people that try to degrade her and being insulting her with intent. You should not be doing that kind of stuff. And generally, and if you did that if you did, like people in like universities and colleges, that would get you kicked out. And if someone does explain that I am also part Asian because one of my parents is Asian, shut up. Don't be racist. Because people like that news reporter Michelle Lee, who is technically Korean but got adopted by a white couple. People were saying, "Oh, you're not American enough," and "Oh, you're not Korean enough." So that kind of stuff is not something you want. You should be saying, and don't be racist. And essentially, this racism against people who are Asian or partly Asian, because this kind of stuff should not be behavior should not be thrown around still. And this was even before the coronavirus, the pandemic started, and people like the previous U.S. President Donald Trump said, "Oh, that blamed it on the Asian for starting coronavirus, for having coronavirus." And they hate against Asian people living outside Asian countries. That has increased, and that needs to stop. So stop the anti-Asian hate. Stand up for people who are Asian. Because black people, they had their moment, and Latinos, that they sort of had their moment. It's time Asians also got the support they deserve, and what we deserve. So you see an Asian person being victimized and targeted like that, slandered, step in, help. And when things get violent, report it to the police.